Yo, this is Teresa Weatherspoon, better known as Teaspoon, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe the can.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real Fans, Real Talk. We as real as you thought. Real fans.
What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. Coming up a good Thursday night football game. So I had to go with Big Blue for the night. Shout out to my guys Scatterbo and Jackson Dart out there putting in that work for the town. But before we get into all that, let me introduce my co-host and my brother, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on?
Well, it's really good, bro. Listen, I want to make it right, bro, because I said something a couple of weeks ago. It was like a slight jab, and playful way, pause between you and I. So let's correct this since we're in week 6. Raise your hand if your team won this week. Raise your hand if your team won this week. See, you got a lot to celebrate, bro. And the Giants is looking good. Y'all got your quarterback, man. Y'all got your quarterback.
I believe so. I a couple of my fellow Giants fans was texting me during the game, like, yo, I think we got our quarterback of the future with Jackson Dart. You gotta love this kid. His ability to move. He got a little athleticism there. He can throw the football pretty well. Once Malik Neighbors come back, I think they're gonna have a nice little offense. Obviously, they still got a couple of things they need to do. But I like what I see thus far. And I mean, you can't deny 3 touchdowns in the game. You gotta love that. Yeah, man. I just and then to beat up on the Eagles, get them their second straight loss of the season. That was just that was such a beautiful thing because my phone rings a lot. When Eagles Giants play, especially the last couple of games, my phone was ringing a lot. My phone was real quiet on Thursday night. It didn't ring the way it normally rings. It was real quiet. So shout out to the New York Football Giants, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing for the Giants now that they have found their quarterback, which it looks like they do in Jackson Dart. Obviously, you got another young guy and Cam Scatterbull, who's becoming a quick fan favorite because of his style of play. But also, I think their personalities fit perfect for New York. You know what I'm saying? You see the way they engage with teammates. You see the way, like the confidence they play with, the swag, whatever you want to call it. I think all that fits because we talk about that a lot of times. Playing in New York is bigger than just can you play the sport. It's do you have the personality to handle the media? Do you have the personality to handle the fan base? And they both seem to have that. So it's a good thing for the Giants, man. And I think it's well deserved. The NFL needs one of these teams. When I say one of them, I mean one of the teams in New York to be pretty relevant. They don't have to be great, but at least be relevant because it makes it interesting. So to see the Giants playing well right now and this division as a whole playing pretty well, I think it's a good thing.
And it's quiet as it's kept. This division is kind of crazy right now.
It is.
And the reality is it's kind of just been wide open. This is wide open right now because the Eagles back-to-back losses, and obviously one of those being a division loss to the Giants. Dallas loses. Washington had struggles, a little while ago, especially with Jaden Daniels being out. So this division is back to being wide open. I want to see what the Eagles do moving forward because this is a team. We had the question last week. It was along the lines of, was it the Bills and the Eagles? Which loss was more? Was it more important or meant more, whatever? And we both said the Eagles. And that was after the Broncos lost, and obviously the Bills lost to New England. But now, where we see the Eagles have now lost another game, and when you think back, is how good is this team this season? Because we spoke about the record, a couple of things here and there, and they could be under 500 right now.
Right now for the Eagles, I think they are in some trouble, and it's a long season. There's 6 games in, so there's plenty of time to correct the issues and get things right. but what we've seen from them is kind of carried over week by week. And it's not one of those things where, like, when it was week 2 and Saquon wasn't breaking off explosive runs and they were just barely winning, it's like, all right, cool, you can live with that. But now we're in week 6, and the same things we talked about after week 2, we're still talking about. They struggle in the second half of games. And I highlighted it. That game against Tampa a couple of weeks ago, they didn't complete one pass in the second half. All right. The game against Denver, they're up 17-3. They struggled to do anything the rest of the game. They didn't score in the second half. This week against the Giants, they didn't score in the second half again. So that, to me, is the most troubling thing about the Eagles. I don't know. We talk a lot about, Super Bowl hangovers, and a lot of times that's reserved for teams that lost in the Super Bowl. But sometimes it happens for the team that won in the Super Bowl as well. Sometimes you're just never the same going into that next season. And I think that's what I'm noticing. Saquon just doesn't look like the same running back anymore. And I don't know if that's just because he was just so overly used last year. Maybe he's worn down. But they don't look like the same team. And if he's not able to run the ball like that, you can see the rest of the offense is struggling because now they're not able to hit the deep shots down the field. Now their receivers aren't getting as much separation down the field because teams aren't respecting the running game the way they once did. So for the Eagles, they got to get this corrected pretty quickly because week 6 could turn into week 10 very quickly. And then before you know it, it's like, yo, this team is nowhere near what they were last year.
So was last year's team a little bit of a mirage then? Because the passing offense wasn't really there like that last season the way it was 2 years ago before Saquon got there, right? And I asked that because if you take away Saquon rushing at an MVP level, which, he could have been MVP last season, if you take away that performance, where are the Eagles at?
I think what last year, it was the perfect storm of their running game with that defense. That defense got better as the season went on. Mm-hmm. And then we saw, like, at Apex in the Super Bowl, but you look at them in the playoffs, the one game that they really had some trouble in was that Rams game. But they played a Commanders team. They beat up on the Commanders. They played a Chiefs team that the O-line was a little banged up, and they took advantage of the O-line. Not to say they didn't deserve it. They won. Like I said, they peaked at the right time. And so that's why I say there's still time to get it right. But they need that running game to get going because the defense hasn't been terrible. It's just that their offense has really struggled in a lot of second halves of these games. And then because of that, it highlights how bad the offenses look. So I don't know if it's going to require maybe limiting the amount of carries that Saquon gets in the first half to kind of give him some fresher legs. And the Giant game, he looked pretty fresh the first 2 drives of the game, and then he faded the rest of the game. So maybe it's a combination of early on limiting his usage and then second half letting him wear down on some teams. But historically, we've seen this before too. Guys who get, close to 500 carries a year normally aren't the same running back the next year. We saw it. We can go back over the last 30 years. It happened with Jamal Anderson. It happened with DeMarco Murray. It's happened with a lot of running backs that when you have that amount of usage, Peyton Hillis with Cleveland, it was the same thing. Sean Alexander with Seattle. Like, these are running backs historically that if you look, their numbers drastically tail off. Once they get over that 400 carry mark, 420 carries, their numbers start to tail off. It's a reason why a lot of teams love to carry 2 and 3 backs to kind of split the load pulls. And Philly didn't do that last year. So maybe Philly's going to have to do that this year to kind of preserve the legs.
Let me give you a stat before I take this first question. Saquon has only rushed for more than 60 yards once this season.
Yeah. It's like I said, he's off to a very, very slow start, and the explosion does not look there. It doesn't look like the same back as last year.
Let me go to shout out to Ron. He says Chiefs prove they're the best team in the NFL. I'm not going to just jump out the window just yet and say they done already ascended to best team in the NFL right now. I think I would still have to give that to Buffalo. So I can't jump out the window and go that far, but I do love what I see from Kansas City, and I feel I'm back to feeling like they can be in the Super Bowl again this season after what we've seen these past couple of weeks.
I agree. I think the last couple of weeks we talked about it before about the lack of explosive plays, about the offense looking the same. And that was really centered around, where Travis Kelce was your number one guy. Now they got Worthy back. Hollywood Brown looks healthy, and he's a key contributor. They're going to get Rashee Rice back. Now this offense looks like it can be dangerous again. Because you see, when they're healthy, with Worthy, with Brown, even Tyquan Thornton, they got a lot of guys who can get down the field. And now they're adding Rashee Rice, who's probably their most complete receiver, a guy who can not only get down the field, but also operate underneath and give defenses some trouble. And you saw last year, Rashee Rice, before he got hurt, was playing great. So they get their team healthy now. Pacheco looks like he's running a little harder. You saw it yesterday. I thought Pacheco, that might have been his best game in a long time in terms of how physical he was running the ball yesterday. The Chiefs look like they're back, and they get some really good games coming up. We're going to learn a little bit more. But I think if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you're happy. 3-3 on the surface may not look great, but I think you're happy that you're 3-3 because if you go back through that schedule, it was a tough schedule to start the season. So to come out of that 3-3 and know, hey, we dealt with some injuries, and now we're getting healthy, we're getting our guys back. The Chiefs look really, really good. The AFC West, I think the Chargers missed a golden opportunity to really put the Chiefs away with those back-to-back losses they had. The Chiefs are still alive, not only in the division, but the Chiefs are going to be in the mix now for one of the top 3 records in the AFC.
Exactly. Let me. I must want to put Imani's question up real quick. Trip and Eric always post, ladies. It's NFL Sunday. Get out of the man's way. All we good for an NFL Sunday is making breakfast and dinner. Well, I'm not gonna say as a man. Y'all good for a hell of a lot more than just breakfast and dinner. I will always say that. Much love and respect to the women out there. I don't want y'all to, we love y'all. Now I will say this: if it's just any game on, I don't mind. I'm okay with it. But when it's my team on, I want to be locked in. Don't be trying to distract me. And if you're going to distract me, it better be a good distraction. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's a fact. And Amani, we appreciate the insight on how you feel NFL Sunday should go. And we appreciate the contributions of all the women who football Sunday, make sure the beverages is cool, make sure the food is ready to go. So we appreciate all that. And then at the end of the night, y'all make sure that if we mad about our team, that we get over it. If we happy about our team, y'all make sure the night ends off great. So we greatly appreciate all those contributions,
Exactly. Shout out to Imani and shout out to Imani's pop because she had told me earlier her dad will be watching us on YouTube as well. So I just want to shout him out.
Shout out to Pops. We appreciate it.
Let me go up here. Ron says Chiefs and Lions players get into a large fight. Yeah. I mean, I saw it after the game. The testosterone levels are high. The adrenaline is high. This is a big game because this is a potential Super Bowl matchup because these are 2 Super Bowl caliber teams. So I'm not gonna put too much on it. It's football. It happens. Nobody got hurt. Let's move on.
Nobody got hurt. I mean, Juju Smith ended up with like a bloody nose after the scuffle. Brian Branch, it was a cheap shot, but the league has already suspended him 1 game. I like Dan Campbell's comments. He said straight up, it's unacceptable, and it'll get handled internally. It's fine. I think 1 game is proper. It was just a cheap shot from the standpoint of Juju Smith was putting his hand out to shake his hand. So, from that standpoint, we always talk about that trip. You don't do that. You still got to have a certain level of respect and understand. If you don't want to shake his hand, don't shake his hand. But don't use that as an opportunity to swing at the man, like so when he got his hand out to shake your hand. So, but other than that, it is what it is. Emotions were running high at that time.
Listen, just before we go on to the next thing, I will say is, players do, and I know this is a high intensity game situation, but just also keep in mind that you have young football fans that are watching these games and they're seeing the behavior that has nothing to do with what's going on inside the lines, which is why I like what Patrick Mahomes said after the game. So just be mindful of that. You got these kids that are watching you out there, and they want to be where you are, and they're going to emulate what you do when they see these things. So just keep that in mind. Kyrie, shout out to Kyrie. He says, what team needs to reset more, the Dolphins or the Jets? They both need it just as bad. Like these two teams, you know, quarterback situation pre concussion, or pre multiple concussions, I should say, for Tua, it was looking like he was gonna be a pretty good quarterback. But I don't know if he's gonna ever get back to that, which means that they pretty much are gonna have to start over, because if you don't have your quarterback, in the NFL, to be honest with you, you really don't have much of anything. And that's the same thing with what's going on with the Jets. Missed the draft opportunity, especially when you see how Jackson Dart is playing. They may have missed an opportunity to draft a quarterback last year. It's looking like they're probably gonna. If things continue to go the way they are, they may wind up finishing with the worst record in football. So they may luck up and be able to get an Arch Manning or a what's the kid, Carson Beck, I believe, out of
Carson Beck, the kid out of Oregon is probably going to be one of the top guys as well. So this draft, I don't think this draft has one superstar quarterback, but they have a couple that are expected to be pretty good quarterbacks at the next level.
Yeah. So both of these teams need new quarterbacks. The Jets, I have Wilson, who I believe is a young All-Pro talent at wide receiver who they can build around. I don't know what's going on with Breece Hall. He hasn't been the same since the injuries from 2 years ago. So I don't know what's going on with their running back situation. Dolphins are a little bit better at running back with Shane. But, at receiver, obviously Tyreek Hill is getting older, and it was looking like he didn't want to be there to go into this season. And now that he's out for the season, we probably saw him playing his last game as a Miami Dolphin. So the reality is both of these teams need new everything.
So the crazy part is we asked them if the Jets need a reset. I thought that's what they just did in the spring. They brought in a new head coach. They signed Justin Fields, right? I thought that was their reset. When they moved on from Aaron Rodgers and the coaching staff from last year, they just reset back in April, Trip. But for me, it is Miami because, as you highlighted, Miami, they were looking like a future contender up until the concussions of Tua, right? Yes. And it is deeper than just Tua at this point because Tyreek Hill being out. You see Jalen Waddle has been very injury prone throughout his career. They need to figure out some things on the offensive line. They made a reshift at the secondary. They're very, very young in their secondary, and they don't have the playmakers there. So I think the reset is going to be there. The telling thing about what Tua said yesterday, and I'm surprised nobody put it in the comment section, was that Tua said all those things about lack of leadership and guys missing players-only meetings and all those type of things, right? Mind you, the Dolphins were underdogs yesterday against the Chargers. They were heavy underdogs. I think they were like a 5.5, 6.5 point underdog. I can double check on that number. But they were actually 4.5 underdogs. They were playing without their best offensive weapon, Tyreek Hill, and they had the opportunity to beat the Chargers. They lost on a last-second field goal. And yet Tua spoke like they got embarrassed yesterday, like as if they were expected to go in there and win, which speaks to a deeper problem in that locker room. That means that locker room is completely fractured at this point, that a quarterback would speak that way after you lost on a last-second field goal when you were underdogs. You would think you would be a little bit more positive and upbeat and say, hey, we just came up a little short, but we're trending in the right direction. He actually spoke the opposite, as if they're trending in the wrong direction, despite losing, like I said, as an underdog on a last-second field goal.
Yeah, well, listen, both of these teams are horrible.
Well, the Jets are just a joke at this point. Will Gordon and I, we were laughing. I don't know how many people woke up to watch that game yesterday. But the Jets, Justin Field was sacked 9 times. Mm-hmm. They had minus 10 yards passing, right? Even without the sacks, he only threw for 45 yards. But there's a scenario, there's a clip circulating where Garrett Wilson is yelling at Aaron Glenn on the sideline. It was a minute left. They had the ball at the 40-yard line. They made no attempt to try to score, right, before halftime. And that's where Garrett Wilson gets upset, like, what are we doing? We're non-competitive at this point. It's a minute left with the timeout. Right, a minute left. Think about that. A minute left with the timeout. You only need to get about another 15 yards to get in field goal range. You don't need much to get in field goal range. They made no attempt to get in field goal range. Then at the end of the game, they get a chance where they could probably hit about a 60-yard field goal. It's 4th and 8. Either they could hit the 60-yard field goal, or they could have said, all right, we're gonna go for it. Now at this point, he already been sacked 8 times. And instead of trying to kick the 60-yard field goal to win the game, they try to pass the ball, and guess what happens? Justin Fields gets sacked again. So it's a complete joke what's going on with the Jets right now.
Yeah, I would have to agree, and I think with the Jets, it's it's top to bottom. It's organization, it's everything. It's the players.
Mm-hmm.
They just need help in so many different areas. And it's going to be a little while before they're even a respectable team. So we're like, okay, they can make the playoffs this year. I think we're far from even just they could sneak into the playoffs. We're far from that. So they're gonna need a lot of help moving forward, and so maybe that's what the coach was doing. He was trying to get Wilson his new quarterback, the future.
Yes.
Shout out to the Broncos though. Shout out to our guy Brian and Soundview. Look is one of the sponsors of Real Fans Real Talk, because I picked the Broncos over the Jets for him in the pool this week, so I had to be up to watch the game to make sure. And they almost lost it too with that penalty that caused the safety. I was nervous, but they held on and got the dub. So shout out to B. Kyrie says, what's the grade on Cam Ward thus far? All right, so I would probably say I don't want to say F, because the team as a whole is bad. They really have no weapons. They really have no offensive line. So I don't want to say F because of that. So I'll say D-, because he hasn't thrown for many touchdowns over this these first 6 games. He's thrown for more interceptions than touchdowns. He's only gone over 250 yards once. He's gone over 200 times half of the games that he's played thus far, and the team looks horrible. So I can't give him nothing higher than a D-. I think that's where I got to go with it.
I was gonna say like C-, D. They lack weapons. The offensive line is bad. He's been sacked over 20 times already through 6 games. But I also yesterday, he's a little careless with the football as well. He had a couple of turnovers yesterday that, again, it's over time. I think he'll be better. Maybe he is trying to force some passes right now. Maybe he's trying to force some situations right now just because he knows the offense isn't that good. But he's got to slow down just a little bit, because, like I said, he's a little careless with the football. And when you're already a team that doesn't have talent, you can't give away possessions. You can't, again, he's thrown 4 interceptions already this year. He's had a couple fumbles this year. So you got to slow down. You can't become turnover prone to the point where teams know you're good for 1 or 2 interceptions a game or good for a fumble. So I'm going to say C- just because the talent around him is really bad. No running game. Calvin really hasn't been good there as a receiver this year. A lot of drop passes. The O-line is bad. So they just fired their head coach today. They realized that Brian Callahan was terrible as a head coach as well. So it's a lot of things going on there against them.
Let me ask you this. 6 weeks into the season, who's the best rookie quarterback so far?
Jackson Dart. That's without a doubt. Jackson Dart is.
Shout out to my guy Jackson Dart, man. Keep styling on him, man. I love it. All right, let me go to this. Hold on, let me see. Kyrie says Mahomes last 3 games, 76 for 108, 941 yards, 10 touchdowns. That's good because I got him on the parlay from the beginning of the season to throw for 4,000 yards. So that's actually good that he's putting those numbers up. Thank you for letting us know that. It's Patrick Mahomes. There's a reason why Eric and myself have been telling you guys he's been on the Mount Rushmore for a couple of years. There's a reason that we've been telling you guys that he's where he is in the ranking in the pecking order of quarterbacks all time because he's Patrick Mahomes and he does great things. Obviously, he can't always throw for 5,000 yards because he just doesn't have the weapons to throw for a 5,000 yard season. But he's Patrick Mahomes, and you give him something close to good, and he can get you to the playoffs, and more than likely he can get you to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, we know that. I mean, if they're healthy, if they got competent pieces around Mahomes, they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. I think that now they're clicking. Mahomes early on in the season had to play conservative. I talked about a couple weeks ago. He was leading their team in rushing because he's been quick to take off this year and extend plays as opposed to forcing passes. But Mahomes is still, again, one of the best 4 quarterbacks in football, however you want to rank them. In my opinion, I think him and Josh Allen are 1 and 2, however you want to go back and forth. I know some people thought Josh Allen, because coming off the MVP and the way he played, he's the best quarterback. But they're the top 2 guys, and Mahomes is showing it again.
Absolutely. Shout out to Nardo Hit. He says Baker Mayfield leads the Bucs to a 5-1 start. Eric, I want you to actually start with this one because you've been the one praising Baker this season and what he's done. Not only this season but the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield is playing at an MVP level. All the praise, all the talk is well deserved. I thought he handled yesterday. When they asked him about the MVP talk, he said it's week 6. He kind of brushed it off. But we can't ignore what he's been doing. And yesterday was another example. Again, no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Emeka Egbuka went out early in that game with the hamstring. You're out there throwing it to inexperienced receivers, and you're still lighting it up. You're still making plays. That third down run, if he continues to have this type of season, and if he is in the MVP conversation in January, we're going to talk about that third down run. That's going to be the play that everybody talks about, where he breaks multiple sacks and then runs for 16 yards to extend the drive. And then 2 plays later is when he hit Taz Johnson with the big touchdown catch in that game. I thought he was phenomenal yesterday against a 49er defense. Granted, Fred Warner goes out. They had no Bosa, but that 49er defense is still really, really good. He's had a lot of great moments already early this season. And as we talked about last week, Trip, in my opinion, he is an elite quarterback. Where you want to rank him, again, that's up to personal opinion. But when we're talking about elite quarterbacks who can beat you, break down your defense, and as we talk about with guys like Josh Allen, who none of the receivers on the field are Pro Bowl caliber guys, and yet you can still throw for 260 and throw for multiple touchdowns, that speaks to how good of a quarterback you are. I think Baker's in that type of conversation.
And I got to give you your props, too, because one of the things you also said was that you can pretty much pencil Baker in for 250 yards, and again he does it again. So big shout out to Baker and the Buccaneers. Very hot start in a division that we usually, or at least in the past couple of years, as whatever, whoever comes out of there, whatever. But they looking like a really good team. So shout out to Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. Great start at 5-1. Let me see. Johnson says, talk about Mark Sanchez, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. So he was officially booked into the Marion County Jail. He's
that's where Mike Tyson was at too. For a little bit. When everything happened, yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how much you want us to go in on Mark Sanchez. Obviously, I mean, it's the dumbest thing. Like, this should not be something that we're talking about right now. That's what I want to say about the situation. This is not something that we should be taking the time out again on another show to be talking about Mark Sanchez being arrested for the foolishness that he was just arrested for. That's what I have to say about Mark Sanchez.
Yeah,
this sort of butt fumble.
This is without a doubt one of the stupidest things that anyone has ever done. For a number of reasons. One, like we talked about last week, you in Indianapolis, you're working for Fox Sports. Life is good, right? You out there, be responsible, enjoy your night out on the town, enjoy your drinks, get back to your hotel room. That's it, right? But instead, you pick a fight with a guy who's 30 plus years older than you, and you get maced and stabbed, and then you the one that get booked, and you wake up in a hospital handcuffed to a bed. Now, let's call it what it is, right? You wake up handcuffed to the bed now.
Old night.
We done had some wild nights out drinking.
I ain't never wake up handcuffed to a bed, stabbed, and then going to jail. That ain't never happened.
Never have I ever. All right, never have I ever. So then you got your family got to answer media questions about what's going on with Mark Sanchez. Now, like you said, now you're being booked on criminal charges. You completely ruined the bag with Fox Sports, because Fox Sports ain't working with you, and no network's probably gonna work with you ever again. So
pretty much.
Yeah, I mean the butt fumble might be his most embarrassing moment on camera, but two Saturdays ago in Indianapolis might be his worst night ever, because you completely ruined everything. You ruined your reputation. You ruined your opportunity to earn the NFL.
You pretty much ruined.
Yeah, you basically ruined what should have been a great opportunity. And you know what's crazy? Like a couple of weeks ago, I got the chance to talk with Jonathan Vilma. I had seen him, in passing, and we were talking. And I asked him, I was like, yo, how are you enjoying the second part of your career? And he goes, this is beautiful to be able to call games. He calls games for Fox as well. And he was like, it's beautiful to call games because he's like, I get to be with my family throughout the week. I just got to fly out on Friday to whatever city. And then Sunday after the game, I come back home. He's like, so I'm just gone for the weekends. He's like, as opposed to when I played and I would be gone for my family for 3 or 4 days at a time, I'm really only gone for like a day and a half. I get to go to all these cities, but I'm still around the game. Mark Sanchez had that. You were still around the game. You're getting paid well to commentate for Fox. You go city to city. You continue to build on this football network. And now you ruined it, like I said, to the point where no network's ever going to want to work with you. And you look like a complete bozo for picking a fight with a 69-year-old man over a damn parking spot. You look like an idiot.
Normally, in these situations when we know somebody's about to be out from another network, we would offer and extend the invite to come, rock out with us over here at Real Fans, Real Talk. But I don't think, we allow that kind of stupidity on this side of the town.
No, we're not condoning that.
Yeah, so I can't offer you the invite on this one. But listen, hopefully things work out, for you. And you can move on and do some better things, with your time left here.
And I want to clear this up, Trip. My name is Sanchez, and I'm no relation to Mark. We just to make sure people are aware, there's no relation, none. I'm Puerto Rican, he's Mexican. There's no relation.
All right. So we got
just so we're clear.
All right, bet. Ron says Jets remain winless. Fields dreadful in London. Yeah, he's bad. Listen, they at this point they playing for the draft. They're playing for the number 1 pick. That's all. When we speak about the Jets, it's tank, and that is all.
Yeah.
All right, John, what's going on, my friend? He says Travis Hunter's struggles continue. They're gonna continue because I think it's really just you're gonna have to pick one side of the football for now. Maybe down the road you can switch and do both again. But I think he needs to be on one side of the football, and realistically, I think he needs to be on the defensive side of the football and just concentrate on playing defense. And I know that's not something that he wanted to do, but at the end of the day, I think he needs to focus on being elite on one side of the football as opposed to being average on both sides of the football.
It's a waste. It's a complete waste at this point. I was trying to bring up the numbers real quick. He had 4 catches for 15 yards yesterday, Trip. I mean, if we're playing that type of football, again, 15 yards on 4 catches. Why are we wasting our time? Why are we wasting this young man's talent, and why are we wasting our time? He was targeted 7 times. Again, 4 of those catches, 15 yards. That means those are little quick bubble screens and drag routes with no pretty much yardage after the catch. Why are we wasting our time? Yeah, wasting his time. So I continue to say what I've said for weeks. I sound like a broken record. Like I said, there should be about 12 to 15 packages for him every week of plays to try to get him down the field, to try to use his just dynamic playmaking ability. But 4 catch 50 yards is a complete waste of damn time. Stop throwing him the ball if those are the routes that you have him running. You can have anybody, you can have your third string receiver running those routes if that's the type of production you're going to get. And again, you're taking them away from playing the defensive side of the game. You're taking them away from the film study required to be a great and elite defensive player. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Titans fire head coach Brian Callahan. I mean, yeah, they haven't gotten a win yet on the season. It's not going to get better anytime soon. But they're another, bottom of the barrel team that needs to improve in a lot of places.
Yeah, they caught that lucky win, remember, against Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only one. But they were so bad in that game, we can't even remember that they won. Because if Mercado doesn't drop the ball at the goal line, if Arizona's the only team I've ever seen intercept the pass, fumble the pass, and then the fumble goes into the end zone, and the team that threw the interception gets the touchdown for it. They actually, Trip, I don't know if you saw it because we're in the fantasy league. They actually had to rework the points for that touchdown.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah,
they had to rework the points because people were thinking that they caught a Tyler Lockett touchdown. It was like, no, we're not giving you credit for the stupidity of the Arizona Cardinals. We're not giving you that. But as a head coach, 1-5 this year, 4-19 for his career.
It's over for that ball.
His dad was a bad head coach. His dad was a good offensive mind, but his dad was a bad head coach in the NFL. He was a bad head coach in the NFL. It's time to move on.
And you have it. Shout out to Hoops Hype. Hoop Hype says, how bad of a loss is this for the Cowboys? I mean, if you're trying to get the Giants into the playoffs, then, it was a good loss. But this really sucks for Dallas. Like, we can't even realistically measure where they're at as a football team because of the teams that they lose to, the teams that they win. We can't never really see where this team is at. But you losing to the Carolina Panthers, and not only, it's not even that you're losing to the Panthers, that you let them put up 30 points on you guys.
Everybody puts up 30 on the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's
everybody.
This is sad. I don't know what Dallas can do at this point. I really don't.
We talked about this when we made the bet 2 weeks ago when we put them in a parlay. Oh, by the way, if for you guys that don't like, I need to lock in Wednesday. We gave y'all 9-leg parlay. 8 of those 9 legs actually hit. The one team that didn't hit, the Tennessee Titans, because Will Gordon wanted to put the Tennessee Titans money line in there, and that did not hit.
Really,
that was the on everything I love. I can run you down the picks that we had. We picked. Listen. Starting Thursday night, Trip. We said Dallas Goedert over 4.5 catches. He had that by halftime. We said Giants. We said Giants plus 7.5. They won outright. Mm-hmm. We had the over on the Packers Bengals that hit. We had the under on the Seahawks Jags that hit. We had Dak Prescott 250 yards that hit. We had Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdown that hit. We had the Bengals plus 14.5 that hit. And then the last part, because we all gave 3 legs, the last leg of Will Gordon's leg parlay was Titans money line. 8 out of the 9 damn legs, $5 would have got us $1,500 back.
Yo, Will, you gonna have to answer for this, man. You got to do better next week, man.
Will, you better come with your A game tomorrow, man.
I know you here tonight in the comments, Will. You're gonna have to defend yourself for
Shout
this.
out.
One,
That's
man.
a fact. That's a fact.
What was you thinking? What was we thinking for letting him pick the damn Titans money line?
Right. That's a fact. But back to the Cowboys. Back to the Cowboys. We talked about it last week because I took the over when they played the Jets last week. Because like I said, the one thing about the Cowboys, I think you could book it for the rest of the season. Their games are going to go over. They give up points. The Cowboys are going to score points, but they're going to give up a lot of points. Listen, week 1 is the one exception, and that's because there was that delay. Remember, they were playing the thunderstorm delay against the Eagles. They only gave up 24 points, but they had given up 21 points at halftime. They were on the cusp of giving up 30, and then the rain delay slowed that down. Week 2, they gave up 37 points to your Giants. Week 3, they gave up 31 points to the Bears. Week 4, they gave up 40 points to the Packers. Week 5, they gave up 22 points to the Jets. Again, that's the same Jets team we were talking about that struggled against the Broncos yesterday. And then yesterday, they gave up a 30-piece. So if we're keeping track, that means they've given up 30 or more points in 4 of their last 5 games. That trend is going to continue all year. I promise y'all, man. You have to put Cowboys overs moving forward because the Cowboys is going to score points and they're going to give up a lot of points. So I think the over is a safe bet pretty much for the rest of the season. I'm not surprised. I don't consider this a bad loss for the Cowboys because I said from jump, the Cowboys ceiling this season is probably 8 to 9 wins. That's the very best you're going to get from the Cowboys anyway. So them losing to the Panthers, who are now 3-3, you're talking about two pretty equal teams at this point, 2 teams that are struggling to get to 8 wins anyway. I'm not too surprised. And to call it a bad loss, that means you're insinuating that you expect the Cowboys to be a competitive team this year. I don't think the Cowboys are a competitive team. I don't think they're one of the better teams in all of football. If we were ranking teams, they're a bottom 10 team in the NFL. So to me, it's not a bad loss. They lost to an equal opponent.
Do we have an update on CeeDee Lamb when he's supposed to be back? Can you, Eric?
I said, let me check if anything's changed on CD. I know he was questionable going into yesterday's game.
Okay, so he may be back soon for them.
Let's definitely going to
shout out to Hoops Nation. Hoops Nation says, are the Ravens playoffs hopes done? No, they're not done. Even at 1, which is crazy because at 1-5 for me to say they're not done they're not done. The reason why I say that is because they've only played 1 division game and they're 1-0 in the division. So because you can get into the playoffs just by winning your division, and the AFC North is generally a division that comes down to the wire anyway. At least that's how it's been the last couple of seasons. And one thing we've seen with the Steelers is especially the last couple of seasons, second half of the season, they start getting a little shaky. So the Ravens are still alive, but they can't afford to lose any more games anytime soon. Like they need to go on a 6-game minimum streak of 1 games before they can even think about trying to lose anything else because they got to catch up in the standings. But again, the division games have still not happened yet, so they're still in it. They just have to get healthy.
They got to get healthy. Now, I think that even with Lamar, the 3-game stretch that they just lost would have been very difficult, even with him. Because again, you're talking about Chiefs, you're talking about Rams, you're talking about Texans. Those are all 3 playoff teams. Even with Lamar, I don't know if they would have went 3-0 throughout that stretch. They probably would have took a loss or 2 anyway. But the defense got to get better. It looked better this week. Again, they only gave up 17 points to the Rams. Granted, Puka left that game early. But you're 1-5. These are your next 4 games. And if you have a chance to make the playoffs, it's got to start now. You got the Bears in 2 weeks. They get a bye week, so you get a chance for Lamar to get healthy. You get the Bears, you get the Dolphins, you get the Vikings, you get the Browns. If you can win 3 of those 4 and get yourself to 4-6, I think you give yourself a shot. The bye week comes at the perfect time. You get a chance to get Lamar healthy. I think a little bit of Derrick Henry looking a little fatigued as well. Granted, he had a good game yesterday, but prior to, he hasn't looked as strong and as powerful. But if you get an opportunity, like I said, the Dolphins are a bad team. The Browns are a bad team. The Vikings is still early to tell, and we'll know more about the Bears after they play tonight against the Commanders. You get an opportunity, 4 winnable games. If you win 3 of those 4, and out of those 4, Trip, 3 of them are on the road. So you're going to have to go on the road. After that Browns game, you also get the Jets. So there's an opportunity there to kind of get fat on this part of the schedule. But it's got to start with the Bears game. You got to win the Bears game. That's a must win.
The only game that you told me out of them 5 that I feel like is going to be a challenge, would be a legitimate challenge for them, if Lamar is playing, obviously, would be the Vikings. The rest of those games, I think those are easily winnable games, which means if they could, let's just say they won 4 out of the next 5, they're gonna be right back in the thick of things.
Yeah.
So and that's possible. So yeah, so it's definitely the playoffs aren't dead for the Ravens just yet.
No, I don't think the playoffs are there because, like I said, they get the weak part of their schedule right now, so they get an opportunity if they can go 4 out of the next 5. 4 out of the next 5, 4 out of the next 6, because they should definitely win. I think they beat the Browns. I think they beat the Jets. I think they beat the Dolphins. I think those 3 are for sure wins. They got to either the Bears or Vikings. They got to win one of those games. You win one of those and get yourself, like I said, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 6. Yeah, you give yourself a shot.
Okay. Hoops Nation says, are we taking the Bills or the field to win the AFC?
Oh, you got to take the field.
No, I'm about to say, no disrespect to Josh Allen and the Bills. I think they're playing great football right now. But I got to take the field too, especially seeing Kansas City start warming back up. I just can't say like, and it would be any team realistically. Whoever the question was based around, like I would still say the field. So it's not even just a Buffalo thing. It's just that I it's a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
I want to say this real quick, because I looked it up real fast. The Ravens are only plus 106 to make the playoffs. So Vegas still feels like they're going to go on a run and get back into the mix. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about the next part of the schedule. But in terms of the AFC, you have to take the field because, one, you got the best team that's been in the AFC over the last 7 years in Kansas City still there. So in a playoff game, I don't think there's anybody that would bet Buffalo over Kansas City unless Kansas City's so hurt going into that game. But you got the Chargers who are playing really good ball. You got the Broncos who might have the best defense. We got to see what's going to happen with the Ravens. I'm not too sold on Pittsburgh. If the Bengals are able to just stay afloat until Burrow comes back, then they get in the mix. And I really don't think – I know it's a bit of a homer pick. I just don't think you can overlook the Colts. The Colts, to me, right now have been one of the best offensive teams in football. And if the Colts find a way to win their division and have one of those top seeds – then you got to play them on the turf. That's different. So Buffalo is hoping to be the number 1 seed and make everybody come to Buffalo, but they've had some disappointing playoff losses, specifically to Kansas City. So you got to take the field.
Yeah. Let me go to Imani. Imani says Floyd Mayweather shoots his shot at 19-year-old Twitch streamer, but she rejects him being loyal to rapper boyfriend No Cap. I said her ass went back after the cameras left though. Well, first of all, when I read this comment, the first thing that comes to my mind is that I would like to give Floyd Mayweather some advice, and my advice to you is don't go out here and get Shannon Sharp.
So hold on, but we got to put the proper context on this, Imani, right? This is the girl, and the only reason I know about it is I saw her clip to her boyfriend was going viral on this. She claimed somebody from Floyd Mayweather's camp approached her and was like, oh, Floyd want to talk to you. It wasn't Floyd directly. It could have been anybody saying, oh, yeah, Floyd want to holler at you. We don't know. Unless she's going to provide some sort of DM or contact that she actually spoke to Floyd, we don't even know that's true. So that's her perspective on it. And a lot of this is done, Imani, for clickbait. Because she's a Twitch streamer who, again, she got to create content. So when she throws around a name like Floyd Mayweather, people pay attention. We wouldn't even be, again, Imani, you would not have talked about this. We wouldn't even be talking about this. If she would have said Zab Judah tried to holler at her, we wouldn't have paid no mind to her. No disrespect to Zab. No disrespect to Zab. No disrespect to Zab. I'm just saying. Because it's Floyd Mayweather, now we talk about it. I don't know how, and we all know Floyd walk around with some of the most beautiful women in the world. I don't think he's stressing about a 19-year-old Twitch streamer. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Hoop Central, what's going on? So, looks like LeBron James is out 3 to 4 weeks. What is the injury? JJ Redick says LeBron is on his own time frame. LeBron is dealing with something that comes with being an older gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
It's called sciatica. It's an older gentleman ailment that he's dealing with right now. You know, and as the elder statesman in the league, you got to give Bron his time to do what he has to do. And of course, JJ said it's on LeBron's own time frame because he knows it's most important to have LeBron James fresh and ready for the playoffs. I do think the team as crafted right now, is good enough to hold it down until LeBron comes back. I think, I've seen Luca, in the games that they've showed overseas, him playing. He looks like he's gotten in even better shape than he was last season. And I like the additions that they made. So I think they'll hold it afloat. And again, then Braun will be back before you know it, and they'll go from there.
Yeah, he got sciatica. Like you said, it does come with age, but also sciatica is caused by inflammation. So when you're drinking that Henny VSOP and you're not hydrating properly, the inflammation, it can hit you the next morning. We up there in age, so sometimes you don't know in the moment, but you had too many shots, and then the next morning you're like, I woke up, I'm not feeling a little stiff. Pause. I'm not myself. So maybe the two go hand in hand.
Everybody wasn't built to drink Hennessy. You know that.
Yeah, everybody, yeah. But I also think this is a game that's being played by LeBron. LeBron is very strategic and smart, and LeBron wasn't going to play this whole season anyway. Not at 40 plus years old. Let's be real. So This is an opportunity to kind of rest his body up. I'm sure LeBron worked out all summer to get ready for the season, and probably said, "Hey, look, if we could steal a couple weeks here, a couple games there, I can still be ready for playoff time. If that time presents itself, I will be fresher as the season goes on." And by most people's accounts, even ours, because we've talked about it, most real hoopers don't consider the start of the NBA season until about Christmas time anyway. So him missing the first month of the season, all it does is put him into late November, which allows him to really get ready as the season ramps up around Christmas time. This is an early start for an NBA season as well. People got to realize normally October 24th, the season doesn't start that soon. It normally is into the early parts of November. So this is LeBron just finding ways to steal a little bit of rest.
Poole, what up, Poole? Poole says, congrats to the Vegas Aces on their third title in 4 years. I always felt the only two teams that could beat the Aces was a healthy Liberty and Lynx team. Yep, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. And again, congratulations to the Aces. They played a hell of a series. I mean, obviously, anytime you sweep your way through the finals, I mean, what else needs to be said? You pretty much put the stamp down, stood on business, did everything that you had to do. This thing wasn't even close. Like it really wasn't. You could tell there was levels in this series, and the Aces are on a level that not too many teams are close to. So,
yep. Yeah, congrats to the Aces, a true modern day dynasty in the WNBA. A'ja Wilson is cementing her legacy. And as we talked about last week, when Pooh had mentioned about the Finals MVP, we were saying it all runs through A'ja, and she proved that, and another phenomenal performance for her in the Aces, man.
I'm gonna say I'm just gonna throw this out there, Eric, right now. They might kill me for this one. A'ja Wilson is putting her foot on the GOAT debate. Like, she's putting her foot on the neck.
She's in the neighborhood now. She's in the neighborhood now. Yeah.
Her resume right now of what she's accomplished, it is not matched by too many.
Mm-hmm.
Like
you're talking about a three-time champion, three-time league MVP, three-time finals MVP. She's been in the last 4 WNBA finals, 4 straight finals appearances. Like I said, it's a modern day dynasty.
Yeah. So shout out to A'ja Wilson, man. Hoop Central says all the debates come in, and I hate we live in the moment and forget. While A'ja Wilson, by the time she is done and adds more, she could become the WNBA's GOAT. But right now she is in Cynthia Cooper, Diana, Swoops, Candace, Maya, and Lisa. I have slightly ahead of Wilson. Stewie was on that path. Wilson kind of knocked her back. Well, I mean, listen. If you compare their resumes, you're gonna have to that list is definitely going to shrink, and I'm saying that in the most respectful way I can, because we're talking about nothing but Hall of Fame basketball legends, with every name that you had mentioned right here, with Cynthia Cooper, Diana Taurasi, Cheryl Swoops, Candace Parker, Maya Moore, and Lisa Leslie. But A'ja Wilson has a better resume than most of them. So, and she's just now in her prime. Like it ain't like you know what I mean. Like she ain't. It's not like she on her last leg dragging it along and they got this chip. No,
No.
Asia Wilson got a lot of years left in the tank. So imagine what she's going to do by the time she retires. I don't think it'll be close. But barring any major injuries, as long as she stays healthy, I don't think it'll be close in the GOAT conversation when she retires.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's really just about adding numbers and more accolades. I mean, again, you're talking about a three-time MVP, three-time champion. Even if she never wins again, just the numbers alone moving forward to add on top of the winning already will make it very tough to not be in a conversation. But I don't want to be the prisoner of the moment, and I don't want to get too far ahead either. Allow her to finish out her career because the WNBA GOAT conversation is always going to be very difficult because the pioneers and the early women of the WNBA of the league, remember they came in late, so they didn't get the opportunity to have 12-year careers, and they didn't get the opportunity that Asia's going to get, where she's going to get a lot of time in front of her before we say it's all said and done. So for the time being, she's the best woman in the sport. She's running the game right now, and if they come out next year and they go back to back again, and you're talking about you done been to 5 straight WNBA finals and won 4 of them. I mean, again, it just continues to enhance the conversation. But for the time being,
it more difficult to
argue
otherwise.
Right. Right now, she's a queen. She's running things, and everybody else is trying to get to her.
Shout out to this is Will. He says this is about the Chiefs game. 0 penalties in the Chiefs. Absolute disgusting work. At least try to fool us. Listen, man, I don't know. We hear this ref talk all the time with the Chiefs, but the one thing we always do say, just to kind of keep that that narrative balanced, is if you don't put yourself in a position for the refs to possibly take the game from you, then we don't have this conversation.
Yes, I mean it's one of them selective outrage conversations. First of all, the Lions weren't heavily penalized yesterday, so it's not like the refs were throwing a bunch of flags on the Lions and not throwing anything on the Chiefs. There wasn't a lot of penalties in that game at all. And what call was missed that helped the Chiefs win the game? The Chiefs dominated. The Chiefs were up double digits for most of the second half of that game. The Chiefs controlled that game for most of the way, and flags are they are the perspective of the ref on the field. It's no different than an NBA game. Some refs blow the whistle a lot, others don't. I don't think there was one egregious play in that game where you can say, "Oh man, they were supposed to throw a flag," or "Oh, why did they pick up that flag?" The Lions didn't get penalized a lot in that game either. The Chiefs were just better. That was it.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to Pooh. She says, to me, the players I have for sure ahead of Asia Wilson are Maya Moore and Diana Taurasi. I hope that Bam supports her. Can y'all imagine them having a hooper? If Bam and Asia Wilson get together and have a hooper, that child might be the new GOAT. That's all I'm gonna say. That child might be the new GOAT. The new GOAT. Be prepared for that. Braun get out the way. Mike get out the way. If Bam and Asia Wilson have a son, that child might be the new GOAT.
No, that's a fact.
Might be the new GOAT too.
Yeah, if they have a little baby boy, baby girl, I mean, we're looking at the next dominant athlete of whatever sport she decides to play, even if it isn't basketball, he or she.
I want to play volleyball.
My only concern is that like 20 years from now, after they have a child, that Asia Wilson says, "I never wanted to be married or have children. This wasn't the life I pictured for myself." That would be really my only concern. But other than that, I don't think there's any concerns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. Kyrie says, is Russell Westbrook being blackballed from the NBA? I doubt it.
In what way?
I mean, I'm pretty sure if Russell Wilson wants to play next season, he will get a job somewhere, because it's not like we're not even talking about Russell Wilson having a down. Like Russell Wilson actually had an up year from what he had.
Westbrook.
Pardon me. Russell Westbrook had an up year from what he had been doing the year before that. During the time in LA, he's actually played a really good season with Denver. So When he wants to sign, he'll sign. If he wants to, he will. It is what it is.
Yeah, I just want to know in what way. I mean, um, it's tough in the NBA because obviously young guys come in all the time. He's not the only veteran that's not on the roster right now. There's some other veterans that aren't on rosters. And that doesn't mean he won't get signed. He may just be selective. He may just want to go to a team that has the opportunity to compete for a championship. Because yeah, we know he could go play in New Orleans or go play in Atlanta if he wanted to. He'd probably go to any place he wanted to go to in terms of a bad team, but he probably wants to get with a good team that has a chance to win. So maybe he's just waiting to see what opportunities present themselves. I wouldn't call it blackballing yet, just because again, he still has the option to go wherever he wants to go.
Yeah. Janetta Johnson, what's going on? She says, one game, who you picking to win the game, LeBron James or Kobe Bryant? Well, I would have to ask you the question: Are you speaking on a one-on-one game between LeBron and Kobe, or a game where it's LeBron's team versus Kobe's team? But I'll answer both just so we don't even have to wait. If you're talking about a one-on-one, I would say Kobe wins the one-on-one. But if you're talking about them leading a team against the other, I would say LeBron.
One-on-one, Kobe. I think Kobe's more skilled. If we're talking a one-game playoff, like they had to win it with their team,
I'm taking.
I think it would depend on who's on their team. Because
I guess which Laker team and which team,
like what teammates they have around them. Because Kobe, we know Kobe has that shooter mentality where it's like, I'm a carrier. Where LeBron is such a complete player, having the teammates around him is going to really impact it. But
he is 16 versus Kobe.
I always say though,
I would go LeBron.
I might lean towards LeBron because I always say one of the greatest playoff performances I've ever seen was 2011 after Miami lost to Dallas when they're down 3-2 and they're in Boston down 3-2, and it's that infamous picture of LeBron bent over looking up. To me, that's one of the greatest playoff performances, and that was a one-man show from LeBron.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk Detroit game, 25 straight.
Mm-hmm.
Another one. All right. Kyrie says, yo, the Bucks have just signed Giannis' youngest brother. LOL. You talk about kissing ass to keep a player. 3 brothers on one team. Yeah, that obviously this is just a move to try and get Giannis to stay there, because we know, and again, and I say this in the most respectful of ways, neither one of them brothers is any good. So the fact that you would have one brother who's not good taking up a roster spot, and now you added a second brother who's not good taking up a roster spot is crazy to me. This is why you guys will not get back to an NBA Finals, and Giannis will ultimately be leaving Milwaukee to go play something else.
Giannis definitely out of there, and this is the Bucks trying to just keep him as happy as possible while he's still there.
Exactly. All right. Johnson says, did y'all hear anything about Paul Pierce getting arrested? Don't he come off sometimes as drunk? Yeah, I did see that. Paul Pierce, I mean, it's not really my guy like that. I'm not really a Paul Pierce fan. But you're gonna be another Mark Sanchez, man. You messing up the bag. These companies got all these morals clauses and things like that. And you already lost one spot because of the last thing that you did with the girls on the live and everything. Is like, yo, come on, Paul. You know better than this. You really know better than what you're doing right now. That's crazy to me that you're involved in some stupidness like this.
Yeah, Paul. I like Paul in the media space. Great career, obviously, but in the media space, I think he's doing very well for himself. Individually and collectively, because him and KG has some stuff going on, and Paul has been working on ESPN. But Paul understands, and he's got to understand, if he doesn't already, that he's kind of skating on thin ice, because he had that moment that went viral. You know what I'm saying, when he got the stripper sitting on his lap and he kind of drunk there playing poker. The sponsors, the people who throwing you the bag ain't gonna want to work with you if you're involved in this type of drama per se. And
you're supposed to be best behavior after what happened the last time when you lost your job at ESPN.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, you got to understand what's at stake here. You got to know that, like, again, ain't nothing wrong with having a good time. Ain't nothing with going out on the town and enjoying yourself. But you have to be responsible and understand, like, I got too much at stake. I'm doing too much big business to get a DUI and get arrested for this. Like, it's too much big business going on. There's too much money out here for you, Paul, to be doing this. And
so you're not playing right now.
Yeah, but again, I just think he's really good in his space. He is good in his space, bro. He's entertaining. It's similar to Gilbert Arenas, where it's like a former player who's still connected enough to the current guys. You know what I'm saying? And you respect his point of view. He's funny in a lot of these moments. He's just got to be better. He knows that.
Yeah. Hope Central says, y'all see Michael Irvin going off. Sometimes I wonder if we tested Dunk on the spot. Brother, I wonder that same thing. And I love Michael Irvin. Got nothing but love for Michael Irvin. I think he is one of the greatest to do it. His personality. I like him as a commentator now. I like him when it is what it is. I like him. You know what I'm saying? I rock with Michael Irvin, and he is who he is, and he's gonna always be that playmaker, Michael Irvin.
I rock with Mike. Listen, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if he's drunk or high. For Mike, I'm gonna be honest though. I don't know how many people know this, so I don't want to. It's been talked. He's talked about it, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm telling his business because I don't know him personally. Yeah. But his wife does have early stages of dementia. He talked about it on I believe Club Shay Shay, where he talked about some of the difficulties of just where he's at in his life at this point. So maybe that's how he self-medicates. Maybe the drinking, smoking, whatever he might do. Might be his way to self-medicate, because I'm sure that's something very difficult for someone at his age who's only in their late 50s to have to see their wife slowly deteriorate in that way. But I think everything he does is all in fun. That comment you talking about Hoop Central, that video, he's responding to some podcasters who he's right. You talking about guys trying to question if Michael Irvin could be a good player in this league. Like you talking about a guy. You talking about a guy who damn near broke his neck on the field. That's the only way they was able to get him off the field. And you know what I'm saying? Like he one of the toughest people to ever play the game, and one of the most productive guys to play the game. Right. Yeah. So you telling me he played in an era where a concussion was normal, where coming across the middle and getting decapitated was normal.
And he was going to get up and playing.
And keep playing. And in this era where you can't touch the receiver once he's 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, you damn sure can't hit him over the middle of the field. You can't go helmet to helmet. That he wouldn't be able to be productive in this game? Hell yeah. Michael Irvin would do his thing in this era too.
Exactly. Any era you put Michael Irvin in, he's going to do his thing. Shout out to
That's a fact.
All right. Johnson says another thing is, though we love Caitlin Clark and thank her for all she has done with eyes and butts putting eyes and butts in the seats, we didn't miss her in the playoffs, meaning she is not the league. Oh, yes.
Oh yeah,
I agree, and again, it's not a slight to Caitlin Clark. It's a great thing for the league that the league can still carry itself without someone who a lot of people like to say is carrying the league. But this was still a very entertaining playoffs, very great basketball, and no Caitlin Clark. We didn't see Angel Reese. It was good, a couple of stars we didn't see, and the show still went on, and we saw some great playoff basketball.
Yeah, I don't think there's a slight at all, but we see this all the time, even in the NBA. You could be the marketing face of the league and not be that. Obviously, the entire league, there's more talent around the league. And so what she does in terms of generating views and sponsorships is great for the league. But is she the best player? No, she's not even. I don't think she's a top 5 player in the league. Yeah. But that's okay, too. That's not a slight on her. It's just to recognize that, hey, what she does for the league is one thing, and what the Asia Wilsons of the league do are something different. So I agree with this point. She's going to be missed to a certain extent, but she's not the entire league.
Yeah. Imani says, Trip and Eric, a full season with LeBron and Luka. I just wonder, will LeBron's ego fully let him take a step back and let Luka lead? You can't tell me in his heart of hearts he don't think he's still that guy. I'm sure he still thinks he's that guy. That's just, we all gonna think that. But I don't think it's not gonna be like that. Like LeBron, if you guys remember, LeBron was trying to get Anthony Davis to be that guy on the Lakers for years. And that was 3-4 years ago. So it's not. I don't think LeBron has a problem with Luca leading the show. Like Luca is the guy right now. Like if LeBron, wants to have any shot at a fifth championship, it's going through Luka Doncic. So he has no choice but to be on board with that.
I mean, I think LeBron's ego has already been hurt when he dropped that commercial, that Henny commercial we talked about. I'm just being honest, Trip. I mean, I don't think that's behavior becoming of a king. It's not fit for a king per se. But
we don't know what that deal looked like at the same time, so we can't say that.
Even still,
LeBron, that was crazy. Check.
Of course, but LeBron has done. LeBron has been doing big business for the past 15 years. Mm-hmm. There's no business deal LeBron does that's small business at this point. So whatever they gave him or whatever they attached to that commercial, it was a great check. But he understood the optics and he understood that might not have been the best way to do the rollout for the advertisement. He still went with it because his ego, his understanding of, I want to tease the idea that I could be walking away or that I'm announcing something major. But with that being said, back to Amani's question, I just think that he'll put his ego to the back burner when it's necessary. I don't think he's going to cause an issue. I don't think he's going to be a bad teammate. I think LeBron understands that him and Luka playing well and getting along is the most beneficial thing for their season. Uh-huh. But are there going to be moments where LeBron James is going to want to be LeBron James and have the sense and be the center of attention? Absolutely. And I think we're going to see those moments throughout the year where you might see LeBron really try to go off just to remind people I'm still that guy. And that's just going to be his ego. But overall, I think they're still going to be a good team, and they're definitely a playoff team. I don't think they're a championship team, though.
John says, and for people thinking A'ja Wilson won this title by herself, y'all know Jackie Young is the top 2 guard. Gray, outside of last few years, has been a top point guard, and Jewel Lloyd was a all WNBA player and all played on Team USA. Aces have a super team talent-wise. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's had the narrative that A'ja Wilson did it all by herself, because I haven't even that narrative. Now, if you're saying was she deserving of the Finals MVP, yes, it was clear that she was the best player in 4 games that the Las Vegas ended this series in. So if from that standpoint, no, A'ja is the best player on the team. She's the best player in women's basketball, period. But no, nobody wins a championship by themselves. She definitely needed Jackie Young, who had a very good series for the Aces. The team as a whole, like you don't sweep an NBA final series if your whole team isn't clicking on all cylinders. So we're not going to do that and disrespect the rest of the Los Angeles Lakers. But again, I haven't heard that narrative where people are saying, "Oh, it's just A'ja Wilson winning the title by herself," because it's definitely in the team of this where you carrying a bunch of Joe Schmoes to the finals.
No, they've been one of the better teams for quite some time. Shout out to Johnson. You're right, because I misspoke. I said they had went to 4 straight. Last year they lost in the semifinals. I was considering their rematch with the Liberty as a finals appearance, but actually it was a semifinals appearance. But yeah, you don't get to 3 finals in 4 years and be as productive as they've been without a good team. But John, for all that you said, who's the best player on the team? Is A'ja Wilson. And she was deserving of the finals MVP, and that's why we talk about her first. No disrespect to the rest of the team and the supporting cast, but you start with the star, and she's that star of that team.
Yeah, we didn't start talking about the Lakers, and we start with Rick Fox. No disrespect to Rick Fox,
or Derek Fisher. We don't start with them. Yeah,
you talk about Shaq and Kobe first.
Right.
Then you're gonna get to everybody else. All right, I just how this thing goes. All right, Hoop Central says both of you. The WNBA has only been around since '97, and I believe that first 10 to 12 year crew of players somewhat forgotten. A lot of youngins don't know who Cynthia Cooper is, and she was MJ of the WNBA. Cheryl Miller didn't play in the W, and younger women know her. How do we bridge the gap? Because NBA players know they passed in history. Is it on the W to do it? Well, first of all, the kids today do not know Bill Russell, Kareem, and those guys. Lucky they still know MJ. Okay, but I can tell you right now because I'm in the classroom with freaking 5 to 15, 16-year-old kids, and I can tell you who they know and who they don't know. And I can tell you right now that these kids cannot name 10 guys outside of Michael Jordan from Michael Jordan's era. And damn sure they can't name 10 guys from the eras that came before Michael Jordan. So that's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're like a sports fanatic, you're gonna know the guys is from your generation. If you're not a big sports fan, if you're not a big NFL fan, MLB, whatever the sport is, if you're not a big fan, there's a good chance that you don't know guys that played 20 years, 30 years before you were born. Because you just don't see everybody. There's only a handful of guys that you really see. Let's say from Bill Russell's era, right? Who do we talk about from Bill Russell's era? Wilt and Bill Russell. That's pretty much the guys that are mostly spoken about, right? That more people will know, right? Maybe you want to throw in, you could probably throw in. I mean, he came a little later, but Dr. J, right, is a name that people know. But if you want to go era by era, we don't talk about the majority, and I'm talking about the elite players from each generation of basketball. There's only a handful of guys that we speak about from every generation. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of like knowing your history, that's more, you got to credit that more to your love for that sport.
Yeah.
If you're a casual fan of it, and I don't mean that in a negative way, you're not going to know many people, right? So, like for me, I'm a diehard football, basketball, and baseball fan, so I can talk pretty much any era. Same thing with boxing, and be informed on who I'm talking about. But for somebody who may not really watch baseball or may not really watch football, you might only know the main guys in certain teams. So in terms of the history, though, for the WNBA, it does fall on the W to do it. The W's got to bridge the gap. And I think for a very long time, the NBA did a great job of bridging the gap where they would bring back the retired players. They would do ceremonies. Again, the 50 greatest players was a tribute to the history of the game. The 75 greatest players is a history to the game. And if you look back for a long time, All-Star Weekend was also a way to bridge the gap, right? Bill Russell was at damn near every All-Star Weekend. Dominique Wilkins is always at the All-Star Weekends. Oscar Robertson. So there are a lot of legends who show up for the All-Star Weekends as a way to celebrate the current players and then mesh it with the old players and the support that they receive from them. So I think the W is going to have to do a better job of that. They're going to have to find a way to, and it doesn't have to be All-Star Weekend. It could be it could be season tip-off weekend. You know what I'm saying? It could be an exhibition game where they bring back, the top 25 players is voted on. There's just ways that you have to get creative to do it. And I think the NBA has done a great job through social media, through online activity, and then through in-game appearances to do it. As a Knicks fan, I know for a fact they're Knicks legends always at the games, right? We saw it during the playoff runs. Obviously, the Patrick Ewings, the Latrell Sprewells is there, but Earl the Pearl is always there. We know Clyde calls the games. So Bernard King coming back to Madison Square Garden. You have to find a way to bridge the gap between the greats who paved the way for the league as to where it is right now, and the W it's on the W to do it. We as fans could talk about it. We as fans can say, hey, they should do this, they should do that. But the W has to truly invest in their history.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring this situation up. Obviously, it's not it's not WNBA, but because the next question is what it is, and you guys will see in just a second. But it's the same. It's women's sports as a whole, right? If you look back at someone that we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, Tina Hutchinson, who had the record for most points in a season as a freshman, and you have the moment where Juju passes Tina Hutchinson, but she's not in the building for that moment. So now you missed an opportunity to bridge the gap
Mhm.
between the past and the present. Right, that was a perfect opportunity. We saw when Caitlin Clark broke her record, the person that whose record was in the building. When LeBron passed Kareem, they had Kareem in the building passing that basketball to LeBron. So moments like that where it's like, yeah, you should have had Tina Hutchinson in the building so you could show that was a perfect opportunity to bridge a gap for somebody who's not as known because maybe she doesn't have a similar story as or a brother who was in the NBA like Cheryl Miller to keep that
Mhm.
storyline alive. You know what I'm saying? And Eric, something you said, which I really love, was if Reggie Miller is not an NBA Hall of Famer, do we speak about Cheryl Miller the way we do? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
You know what I mean? Because she becomes now forgotten because there's
Mhm.
no one to really carry that legacy and talk. And then when again, we don't have those bridging of the gap moments the way we should.
Yeah,
So
and when I said that, it's not a slight on Cheryl, but you got to realize that kind of amplifies her story, right? When we hear the story of Cheryl used to beat Reggie in their driveway, and Cheryl was the best player in their house, it amplifies how great a player she was because you're telling me she was the best player in the house that had an NBA Hall of Famer in it. You know what I'm
top
saying?
player
Right,
of
right.
all time.
A top 50 player, and she was better than him. So of course it amplifies the story now. If you don't have Reggie, yeah, we talk about Cheryl, but I think her story starts to fade over time because there's nothing to compare it to. Now she just becomes a sideline reporter who was great in her own right. But what are you comparing it to? Reggie Miller helped keep that narrative alive because of who he was.
Exactly. Now I'm gonna get to the question I was telling you guys about. Johnson says, I watched your great interview with Tina Hutchinson. First of all, thank you for that. Appreciate you. Um, she kept saying Linda Sharp kept her off the USA team. My question is, has it been proven or she feels it? I would have asked if I was on then. No, this is not. It's not something that's been proven. It's just that's what she believes. Part of the reason. I mean, there was a couple of things in actuality that she spoke about that contributed to her not making the team. But no, it was never like a proven we got in the words of Loaded Lux, we kept the files type of situation, and you know what I mean. It's not that. This is just what she believes.
So I mean, we talked about it at that time, and people have asked that question. Um, she gave her perspective on what she experienced at that time. So in the interview, she talks about, uh, the behind the scenes with Linda Sharp and the jabs that Linda Sharp took at her, the questions about was the paperwork submitted on time, was it not submitted on time. So is there definitive proof? No. There were just little incidents that made Tina feel like Linda might have had played a part in keeping me off the team. But again, nothing was ever really proven. Just like, I mean, a lot of things are more about feel than actual facts. There's a lot of sports situations where there isn't proof, but it's just based on how somebody felt about the situation at that time.
Yeah. Eric, before we get out of here, there's one thing I've been wanting us to get to. We haven't had a chance to really get to it yet. First of all, I want to say congratulations, big shout out to Bad Bunny on being announced as the halftime performer at the Super Bowl. I think he is going to light the Super Bowl up in a way we have not ever seen before because he's that type of performer. He's that type of artist. I think it's going to be great. And Eric, I'm gonna let you speak in just a second, but I needed to say this to the dumb, ignorant, arrogant, uneducated idiots in this country. Just so you guys know, because I'm gonna want to say it slow for the people in the back. Bad Bunny is a U.S. citizen. If you
Yeah.
guys know, he's one of us.
Yeah.
He's from here. He's an American citizen. Just wanted to put that out there. Now you can go. Go ahead. I just want to
Yeah.
put that. People act like they don't know he's a citizen. So I just want to, we've been having some controversy. So I just want to put that out
Yeah.
there.
Apparently people skip ninth grade history and they don't realize that Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory.
Yeah.
So people who are born on the island of Puerto Rico are actually U.S. citizens.
And we're talking about
Yes.
people on some of the biggest media platforms.
Yeah, biggest media platforms don't know that. But
To get that out there.
the hate for Bad Bunny, and let's be clear, I'm not a Bad Bunny fan. I don't listen to Bad Bunny. I know who he is, obviously, because I'm Puerto Rican. He's Puerto Rican, but I don't listen to Bad Bunny. But with all that being said, the facts are the facts. He's been the #1 streamed artist for the last 3 years. So this isn't like a overnight success. This is a guy who's actually been running up a lot of numbers over the last 3 years. What he did for the island of Puerto Rico is going to go down in the history books because as the biggest streamed artist, he had the opportunity to do a world tour. And he turned down the world tour and basically said, I'm going to create a residency on the island of Puerto Rico so that I can raise money for my island, which is poverty stricken because the current administration continues to ignore the problems on our island. And for those that don't believe that, there's a video circulating from Trump's first presidency when hurricane came through, completely destroyed the island. And your boy Donald Trump was out there shooting paper towels into the crowd like he was shooting baskets into the trash. Bad Bunny did that and raised $750 million for the island on his residency. He made, if you were a major star of any genre, music, movies, sports, whatever, he had those people flying into the island of Puerto Rico, boosting the economy of Puerto Rico. And then after he did that, then he said, all right, now I'm gonna go on my world tour. Also, for the people that says, oh, he refused to tour in America, that is not true. He never said he would not tour in America, and he's actually done shows in the continental United States before. Under the current climate, he said, I'm not going to do it because I know the people who support me would become easy targets for ICE agents. Yeah. Oh, by the way, ICE has already come out and said, yeah, we're going to be paying attention at the Super Bowl. So,
which is the dumbest thing ever because
which is the stupidest shit ever, but also proved why Bad Bunny was skeptical of doing a continental United States tour because he knew his supporters would be targeted and harassed by ICE agents. So there's that aspect of it, right? For the people who are complaining about, oh, the majority of songs in Spanish, y'all do know that he was brought on stage when J-Lo and Shakira did the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. He was brought on during that same Super Bowl and performed some of his songs in Spanish. Nobody cared. Y'all do know that we've had other foreigners, people who are not United States citizens, perform the halftime show before. Nobody cared.
Those people got the complexion for the protection.
Yes, absolutely, Trip, as you always say. And again, the irony in all these things is we only worry about it when you're the wrong complexion. We don't worry about these things when it's someone else doing it. Just like we only seem to think the only border that surrounds the United States is the southern border. We act as if the other borders don't have migrants who come through every day.
I guarantee you, nobody would have said nothing if it was the Beatles.
So I think it's going to be a great halftime show. Again, his music is widely popular. There are plenty of people who are going down to Puerto Rico that we're going to the shows. Yeah. And on a larger scale too, let's stop being naive and ignorant. The NFL is a business. All right. If y'all haven't noticed, the NFL for about 6 or 7 years now has done a game in Mexico, has done a game in Brazil, right? The NFL has made a conscious effort to expand their borders of their game. Where's the NFL the last couple of weeks, Trip? They were in Germany. They were in London. They got another London game coming up. They've had Brazil games for the last couple of years. They've done a Mexico and a Mexico City game several times. So the NFL is looking at this as an opportunity to bring in a global music star, which Bad Bunny is, onto the platform and piggyback his followers and his supporters to come into the world of the NFL because the NFL's ultimate goal is to go completely global. So for those of you that don't understand that, again, I don't know what else to say to you guys. Like Trip said, you have an American citizen performing. Y'all want to talk about he's not American. Y'all want to talk about he only speaks Spanish. Y'all want to make it seem as if the NFL should only cater to you guys. Also, for the people in the back, I don't know if y'all remember this, but for a long time, the NFL never catered to people that look like Trip and myself. When we had to sit through a lot of those halftime shows with Bruce Springsteen, with U2, those were not halftime shows that catered to us, and we're American.
U2 is not American.
It's not an American band.
Just want to put that out, but nobody complained about it then.
Right. So
they didn't protest.
When we had to sit through those halftime shows that did not cater to us, we didn't bitch and moan about it. You know what we did? We got up and just got another plate and ignored it. So if you don't like who's performing at halftime, that's your opportunity to step outside, smoke, refresh your cup, get another plate, and deal with it.
Yeah, pretty much. It is what it is. And it was funny 'cause I was thinking about this. I know, obviously, Jay-Z's the one that makes the picks, but I know, the NFL got a little petty in them, and the NFL don't rock with Trump. So this was like a win-win situation because you get one of the biggest artists internationally right
Mhm.
now to perform at the Super Bowl. You know what that's the attention that's gonna draw globally. And it's like, yeah, we can stick it to Donald Trump too. On top of that. Because that's his whole issue with us. But it is what it is. Let me just throw Johnson's comment up here, and then we're gonna get to the final thought. He was just saying he asked because she had said she was close to Pat Summitt, who was the head coach. Yeah. So yeah, but again, it wasn't a proven thing. This is just what she believes. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Eric, give us a final thought.
Man, as always, shout out to the followers and then the supporters who rock with us every week. We greatly appreciate it. As you saw, the comment section was on fire tonight, man. Shout out. Make sure you guys are rocking with us Wednesday night. Myself, Trip Young, Will Gordon, we got the picks. We almost hit that parlay last week. We're looking to hit that 9 out of 9 parlay so that we can go record from a discrete location. We're not going to tell y'all where the location is unless y'all put it on the picks. All right.
Don't worry, we will not ever let Will take the Titans money line again.
Yeah. Titans is going on the bad list for the rest of this season and maybe even next season.
I don't want to hear nothing about the Titans.
We were one game away from hitting a 9-leg parlay. So shout out to supporters and all that. And then also I want to say this because we talked about the halftime show. Obviously, we mentioned the current gentleman who occupies the White House. I want to send a shout out to all my federal workers out there, man. There's a lot of false narratives being sent, a lot of false narratives being created. But what I think people don't realize, myself included, I'm a federal worker for this great country. I love this country. But what's being done right now is so wrong, bro. We have not only myself, but active military who's not getting a paycheck right now. We got so many people who bust their butt for this country every day who have to wonder when this is going to get resolved so that the paychecks can open back up again. And it's very, very tragic because I'm here in the nation's capital, Trip. I see these politicians come through every day through Reagan Airport. These guys are getting their check. They living their life. They traveling wherever they going. And meanwhile, the people who got to make the sacrifices every day to be at work, who have to budget for their life, who got to sit here now and be like, yo, when is this all going to get resolved? So it's stupid. It's childish what's going on. It doesn't matter whether you voted red or blue because they both screwing us over right now. You know what I'm saying? And my thoughts and prayers.
Their job to show us some Republicans or some Democrats.
Yeah, right. It's both. So it ain't about a party. It ain't about who you voted for. It's both. And my thoughts and prayers really go out to active service duty members because we got military people who are overseas defending this country who are not getting paid right now. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. But again, keep them in your thoughts and prayers because imagine being out here risking your life for this country that isn't willing to pay you right now until they resolve some healthcare issues. That's my final thought.
Anybody need to be paid. They need to be paid. If you in the belly of the beast right now and you're not getting the paycheck, shame on all of y'all, man.
Yep.
Everyone. Shame on every politician.
Yep.
Come on, man. That don't even make no sense, bro. You know what? For my final thought, man, I got to get at Stephen A. Smith.
I gotta go back and look at the clip because I heard a snippet of it. Yeah, go ahead, bro. I
just didn't like how he was coming at Jasmine Crockett. She is definitely for the culture. She's one of our biggest advocates. She does not let these politicians slide on anything. So for Stephen A to come at her the way he did, I'm just really disappointed in Stephen A, behind that. So I just want to send Jasmine Crockett. I'm not even going because I know we're about to get up out of here, so I'm not gonna go in too deep with it. But I just want to send Jasmine Crockett some love and just Stephen A, man, you doing too much right now, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch the whole clip, but Stephen A been going out bad lately.
And I feel bad because I met Stephen A. this past year. Shout out to CCC in Brooklyn and Pastor Bernard. And when I met Stephen A, super, super dope. Stop, you know what I'm saying, had a nice little quick conversation with me. And like he just seemed like such a good brother. So I was just like, when I see that, it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But I got to speak on it because you know what I mean, brother, even if I rock with you, right is right, wrong is wrong. I still got to say something about it. I can't just let you get up here and disrespect, you know what I'm saying, our sisters like that. That's really putting on for us. So I got to say that. I got to speak on it.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back and look at the clip, and I'll definitely have more to say on it next week. But yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, listen, with that being said, make sure you guys are following us on all our social media: Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. And of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. Make sure you guys subscribe to the two best podcasts moving. That's the Real Fans Real Talk and the Sanchez Show podcast on all major platforms right now, streaming. And if you're not in New York City, you can't watch us on TV Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. on Verizon 43, BPN 2. You can always watch from anywhere in the world. Just go over to that website, realfansrealtalk.com. Click that red button on the homepage, and you can watch from anywhere in the world. With that being said, for myself, Trip Young, my brother, my co-host, Eric Sanchez, a.k.a. Legend of Two Games, we up out of here. Peace.
We see you on Wednesday.
Yes, sir.